Hey, it's DIY Gemini, and today we are creating a potting bench from this table. So there are two reasons we're making this potting bench. First, for the obvious reason that we need a space where we can repot our little plant BBs around the home. Second is to build a somewhat privacy screen between our patio and our neighbors. Here's the plan. I'm planning on building this bench around the table I got for free from Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot I want to add as features to the potting bench, but we're actually going to split this build into two parts. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on demoing the old tabletop and creating a new one with something we've never done before, tiling. Okay, so that's the plan. Let's get to demo. First thing first, we are going to take everything off the top here and peel off all the tile. I don't have a crowbar, so I'm just going to use some scraping tools and my putty knife and see if I can just get all of this off. Also, make sure you're wearing safety glasses because I'm sure this is going to fly everywhere. After a while, I realized I could just peel the chipboard layer underneath the tile instead of the tiles individually. And then after that, after my arm was already getting tired, I realized I could have just used my multi-tool. Duh. So there's the aftermath of all of the tile. This is what our table looks like now. Okay, so it's another day, and we're going to take this whole portion off of the table because it's just paper and particle board. It's not going to last outside, plus it's pretty bumpy from when we removed all the tiles the other day, so I'm just going to take out the inner parts of all of that. Trash. All trash. Now that we're bare bones on the table, we're going to use some OSB as our new top. The plan is to tile it on top of this, but of course I have to make it hard on myself and make one part of this OSB removable because I want to put a sink underneath one side. So I'm going to get my tiles, I'm going to get some spacers, I'm going to lay out the tile on here just as a dry fit and see where I can cut to make our one side removable. I can lift it up and access the sink if I need to, but put it back when I don't. We have these green square tiles I got from Habitat for 10 bucks for a box. Got 2 boxes, so I should have hopefully enough. And then we have these 1/4 inch tile spacers, also from Habitat for $1. So let's do a dry fit and see where all the tiles lay. Okay, so we laid out our tile. Here's what we're looking like. I think we're just going to cut it off right here, roughly, because our sink is going to sit basically like right there. It's pretty narrow. It's just a plastic thick bin. So yeah, we'll cut it like right there. All right, so we have 2 pieces now. We have this big one, and we have this guy. This is going to be the removable side for the sink, and then this side is going to stay bolted and stationary. We're just going to screw it on with some exterior rated screws. Today is tile day, and not gonna lie, I'm really nervous because I've never done tiling before. I've watched hours and hours of videos on how to do this, so hopefully this turns out really good. So first, since we are doing this outside and this table is staying outside, I have to waterproof the OSB layer. So I got some Aqua Defense from Maypay, and this is going to create basically like a rubber waterproof barrier between the OSB, wood, and the tiling. So that way, when the wood is expanding and contracting, it just reduces the less chance for cracking of the mortar and cracking of the tile later on. Since this is outside, I want to make sure it is waterproof. It's going to be going through all the elements. Do at least 2 layers of the Aqua Defense. The first layer is going to be about credit card layer thick, and then we'll wait 30 minutes and we'll do another layer, and then we'll see how thick it is, because we want to make sure everything is fully covered, because you don't want things too thin, and like you don't want anything that's kind of waterproof. We're going to use a roller for this. You can also use a brush, but they said a roller would be the best option to use. Whoa. The color is pretty. It definitely has a bounce to it. It feels very bouncy. Spread this apart. Okay, so it's been 4 hours since our second coat, and here is what it's looking like. As you can see, it's really saturated. It's very tealish blue, and it's basically like a rubber coating to protect the wood on the bottom. So now we're ready to tile. I'm going to relay out all of my tile again, just to make sure I have the correct layout, and it's going to look good with the spacing and everything. So we're now ready to mortar everything. I am really nervous on how this is going to go, but it's fine. You may be wondering why I have this little scale here. Give me a moment. This is our mortar that we're using. This is good for exterior and interior use. Some VersaBond thin set mortar, and it only gives us directions on how to mix the entire bag. I don't need the entire bag. So I did some math. Yay math. This is a 50-pound bag. I'm estimating I only need like 5 pounds. Doing some math, I calculated that I'm going to need like half a quart to do 5 pounds worth of the VersaBond. So I needed a way to measure that 5 pounds of the bag. So I'm just going to use the scale that I had from when I used to sell clothes on Poshmark and like ship them out, but don't do that anymore. It's a lot of work. So let's do that. Let's measure things out. You can remember from chemistry class, we're going to do this, tear, I have a drill attachment, so I'm going to use that and slowly do that for 5 to 10 minutes. After mixing the first time, we're going to wait 5 minutes and let it slake, which is like some chemical process when it mixes all together. After 5 minutes, we're going to mix it again, and then we're ready to put on our mortar. I have one of these mini trowels because I didn't want to get a full-size trowel since my tiles are so small. So these have like different sizes on each side. I ended up cutting this so I can use that as my flat scooper. But I think we're ready to tile. Okay, let me grab my tiles. I'm going to start on this side. So we're going to spread a thin layer around first. It's kind of like cake batter consistency. Look, it's like that. So we're going to spread a thin layer. Going to have a generous scoop there. This is kind of fun though, to be honest. It's very therapeutic. Is it like a Zen garden? Maybe. Probably not. After putting the base layer of the mortar, load up another scoop of mortar and use the patterned edge of the trowel to make parallel lines through the mortar. Then we can put on our tiles. There is a method to putting these tiles on though, which I'll get to in a minute. Basically, we'll put the tile down, move it side to side, whatever is perpendicular to how you put your mortar lines with our trowel, because that releases all the air pockets underneath so that the mortar will touch all of the tile. So they said every now and then, like lift up your, these are really hard to lift up your tile to make sure all of it is covered by the mortar. So all right, this looks insane, but this is what it would look like so far just on this one side. I'm going to continue that side, and then we are going to clean all of this up with some wet sponge. Comb it out. This is spot. So we put a tile down, and then we do it perpendicular to our lines. If I were to check if this one had enough mortar, I want to see that it's covering all of it. So see how this is not covering this end. So I want to make sure this is everywhere. We want it in contact with the entire tile. Alright, so we're done with the mortar, and it is already dark outside. It's only like 7 o'clock. So this is what it's looking like right now. Turns out I had enough mortar, so that's great. Definitely a really messy process. I don't think I was as efficient about moving it around. I think I put too much in some areas and maybe too little in some areas. And I know some of the alignments are off because it started to cure as I was putting the little tile separators. So next time I'll put them in sections, and instead of one whole big section before putting my tile separators on. So that's a lesson number 1. But hopefully it turns out okay. So we'll have to let this cure for 24 hours before we can start grouting. So I will see you when we grout. All right, it's grouting day, and it is already dark. It's 7 p.m. only. So sad. Anyways, I ended up cleaning some of our mortar lines from our tiles as best as I could, and then now we're going to place grout. So I have some Prism cement grout. This is good for outside and inside, and we have 1 bag left in here. Since it's from Habitat for Humanity, this is thrifted. There's only 1 bag, so it's 1 quart per bag. So we're going to mix that up. I think that should be enough for our table. So same thing as the mortar, we mix the powder into the water. We'll mix it for about 5 minutes, let that slake, or basically have that chemical reaction with all the polymers and stuff, and then we'll mix it again and place the grout. All right, let's go. To apply the grout, we'll use the float to scoop and then to spread. Avoid spreading parallel to any of the grout lines like this. Instead, hold the float about 45 degrees from the surface, as well as spreading the grout at a 45 degrees from the grout lines. This avoids the float from digging into the grout lines. Looks like Then wait 10 to 20 minutes before wiping the excess grout. To do so, we're going to take out a wrung out wet sponge and wipe on one side, again 45 degrees from the grout lines, then flip the sponge and wipe. After wiping both sides of the sponge, wring out the sponge and repeat. Do this several times in different directions until it's mostly clear. 3 hours, we can do another wipe clean, but since it's late now, we'll do that last wipe another day and for the final reveal. That wraps up part 1 of our potting bench. We replaced the peel and stick damaged tile with real life tiles. Some lessons learned with this one. I definitely put way too much mortar on the first set, so it ended up squeezing through where the grout lines were supposed to go, so there was a lot of cleanup after that. 2, I should have used a full-size trowel instead of the baby one. I think that would have been easier to manage all of the mortar. 3, place the mortar in smaller batches and put the tile separators as I'm going instead of doing the whole thing and then putting the tile separators on because it started to cure. It was really hard to move the tiles after a while. And some of them are definitely really crooked, so that's okay. This is our first time, so not too bad. I am willing to try this again and be better for the next time. So if I ever were to tile a bathroom or a kitchen backsplash, I will be better and ready. In the next video, we're going to move on to part 2 of the potting bench build, which includes the privacy wall and tool hanging wall, as well as the sink on this side and the compost bin on this side as well. I am excited to move on to this part because it's a little bit more familiar for me since it's just woodworking. So I'm really excited to show you guys what's next, and make sure you subscribe so you can see part 2. I will see you then. Bye!